Tonight, we do not look to the sky, but beneath our feet. There is a kingdom that does not announce itself with thunder, nor reveal itself in light. It waits in silence, beneath the living world, a place where every voice eventually fades into something quieter, something final. Not a realm of chaos, but of order, not of punishment alone, but of inevitability. A place where even the gods do not rule freely, where the living are only visitors, and the dead remain. Tonight we descend into the Underworld, not as a story of endings, but as a world that has always existed, waiting for us to arrive. If this kind of storytelling brings you inner peace, feel free to like the video and subscribe, but only if it truly brings you peace. And let me know in the comments where in the world are you listening from, and what time it is for you right now. It's always strangely comforting to know who else is out there closing their eyes to the same story. So settle in, let the world grow quiet, and let's dream together for a while. Before the living learned to fear death, there was already a place waiting for them. It did not rise from the earth. It did not fall from the sky. It existed beneath, not hidden, but simply unseen. A realm that did not change with the seasons, did not bend to the will of gods or mortals, did not concern itself with time as it is understood above. The Underworld was not created as punishment. It was formed as necessity. For what is life without an end that gives it shape? What is existence without a place where it settles, where movement ceases, where the noise of becoming finally grows still? This was not a realm of darkness in the way the living imagine it. It was something quieter, a place where light does not reach, not because it is denied, but because it is no longer needed. Here the world does not unfold, it remains. The souls who arrive do not arrive in chaos. They cross from one state into another, carrying with them what cannot be left behind, memory, identity, the echo of what they once were. And yet, as they pass through, something begins to change. Not immediately, not violently, but inevitably. For the Underworld does not take, it transforms. Above, the living speak of death as an end. Below, it is not an ending at all, it is a continuation without movement. A stillness that holds everything that has ever been lived. At the centre of this realm stands a figure not defined by cruelty nor by mercy, a ruler who does not judge by desire but by order. A presence that does not seek power because all things come to it in time. And beside him another presence, one who has known both worlds, who carries within her the memory of light and the acceptance of shadow. Together they do not govern the Underworld as kings of dominion, they maintain it. For the Underworld does not require rule, it requires balance, and that balance has never been broken. The gates remain, the rivers flow, the souls continue to arrive. And beneath everything that lives, the kingdom of the dead endures, not waiting, not watching, simply existing, as it always has. There is a moment, quiet and almost imperceptible, when the world of the living loosens its hold. It does not break, it recedes. The senses that once defined existence, sound, light, the weight of breath, begin to fall away, not violently, but as something no longer required. What remains is not emptiness, but transition. The first ascent is not a fall, it is a crossing. No path marks its beginning, and yet every life moves toward it. Not guided by maps or memory, but by something more certain than direction, inevitability. The soul does not rush, it moves as though drawn by a current that cannot be resisted and does not need to be understood. Behind it, the world continues. Voices remain, movement persists, but they no longer belong to it. Ahead, there is no horizon, only a dimness that is not absence, but presence without form. This is the threshold. Not a gate that stands open or closed, but a boundary that is felt rather than seen. To cross it is not to step into another place, but to leave one behind entirely. The first sensation is not fear, it is distance, a growing separation from everything that wants to find identity. Names begin to lose their weight. Faces fade not in memory, but in significance. What mattered begins to loosen, not because it was unimportant, but because it belonged to a different state of being. The descent deepens. There is no ground beneath, no sky above. The direction is inward, though there is no centre to reach. Time does not pass in the way it once did. It stretches, thins, becomes something difficult to measure. This is not a journey marked by steps, it is a passage marked by change. Shadows gather, though they are not cast by anything. They do not conceal, they accompany. The soul moves among them, not as a stranger, but as something becoming similar. There are others, not seen clearly, not approached, but felt. Presences that move along their own descent, each enclosed within their own transition. There is no speech here, no exchange. What connects them is not interaction, but direction. All are moving toward the same stillness, and yet each moves alone. There is a quiet understanding in this solitude, that what lies ahead cannot be shared in the way life was shared, that whatever remains of the self must carry itself forward without the structures that once defined it. The deeper the descent, the more the world above loses its hold, not erased, but distant, like something remembered without urgency. The soul begins to feel lighter, not in relief, but in release. The weight of the body is gone. The weight of choice begins to fade. What remains is awareness, thinner, quieter, but still present. There is no turning back. Not because it is forbidden, but because the direction itself has changed. The living world is no longer behind in space, it is behind in state. And the soul has already crossed beyond it. At some point, though there is no clear moment, the descent gives way to arrival. Not sudden, not marked, but felt. The movement ceases. The current that carried the soul settles into stillness. The threshold has been crossed. What lies ahead is no longer transition, it is existence of another kind. The underworld does not reveal itself all at once. It does not open like a landscape waiting to be seen. It emerges gradually as the soul becomes able to perceive it. Forms begin to take shape in the dimness, not fully, not clearly, but enough to suggest structure. There are boundaries here, though they are not rigid. There is space, though it does not extend as the world above did, and within it there is order. The first ascent does not end with understanding, it ends with acceptance, not chosen, not resisted, simply present. For the soul has arrived in a place where movement no longer defines existence, where time no longer measures it, where what remains is not what was lived, but what continues after it. This is the beginning of the underworld, not as a destination reached, but as a state entered, and once entered, it does not release. There is a realm that does not seek to be known. It does not rise into view, does not call out to those who live above it. It remains where it has always been, beneath, within, beyond the reach of light and weather and the shifting noise of the living world. This is the domain of Hades, not a place of chaos, not a place of fire and endless torment as later imaginings would suggest, but a structure, a kingdom defined not by cruelty, but by permanence. To enter it is not to encounter something wild, it is to encounter something complete. Nothing here is unfinished, nothing here is becoming. Everything has already arrived. The land itself does not resemble the world above. There are no seasons, no growth, no decay in the way mortals understand it. What exists here remains in a state that does not shift with time. Forms hold their shape, but they do not change. The air is still, not heavy, not oppressive, simply unmoving, as though motion itself has been set aside. And yet, the underworld is not empty, it is filled. Not with life, but with presence. Countless souls inhabit its expanse, each one existing within the quiet continuation of what they have become. They do not wander aimlessly, they do not seek in the way the living seek, they remain. This is the nature of the domain. It does not compel action, it holds what has already been done. At its centre, though no path leads directly to it, stands the seat of its ruler. Hades. He is not a god who demands attention. He does not move among the living, does not interfere in their affairs, does not seek recognition. His power is not expressed through presence, but through inevitability. Everything that lives comes to him. And so, he does not pursue, he receives. This makes his domain unlike any other among the gods. It is not a realm that expands, it accumulates. With each life that ends, the underworld grows not in size, but in depth. Its silence becomes more complete, its stillness more absolute. Hades does not rule as a king of conquest, he governs as a keeper. His role is not to shape what enters his domain, but to ensure that it remains within its order. There is no urgency in his rule, no need to assert control. Nothing within the underworld resists him, for resistance belongs to life. And life does not remain here. There is a distance in him, not born of cruelty, but of alignment. He is bound to the structure of the realm itself. Where others among the gods move freely between desire and action, Hades remains constant. He does not change, because the domain he governs does not change. This constancy creates a quiet separation. Even among the divine, he is known, but not approached, acknowledged, but not embraced. For his presence carries with it the certainty that all things end. And this certainty is not easily welcomed. Yet there is no malice in him, no delight in death, no hunger for the souls that arrive. He does not take. He receives what must come. And in receiving, he maintains the balance that allows the world above to continue. Without the underworld, life would not end, and without an end, life would lose its form. This is the paradox of his domain. It exists so that the living world may remain as it is, unaware, for the most part, of what lies beneath it. The halls of the underworld are not grand in the way of Olympus. They do not gleam, they do not inspire awe. They endure. Stone that does not erode. Shadows that do not shift. Structures that do not crumble. Everything here is held in a state beyond time's reach, and within it, Hades remains, not watching, not waiting, simply present. The domain does not require his constant attention. It reflects him. Ordered. Still. Complete. To understand the underworld is not to see it as a place of punishment or reward. It is to see it as a necessity. A realm that exists not in opposition to life, but in relation to it, where everything that begins finds its end, and in that end continues in a way that no longer changes. This is the domain of Hades, not feared because it is cruel, but because it is certain, and certainty, more than anything else, is what the living struggle to accept. There is a presence in the underworld that does not fully belong to it. It moves within the stillness, yet carries something that does not settle. A trace. A memory. Persephone does not arrive in the same way as the dead. She is not drawn downward by inevitability, nor shaped by the quiet erosion that touches every soul that enters this realm. She comes from elsewhere, from a world of light, of change, of time, that unfolds rather than remains. and because of this, her presence alters the underworld in a way that cannot be seen, only felt. It does not disrupt, it does not transform, but it introduces something the realm does not create on its own. Contrast. Above, Persephone once belonged to movement, to cycles that returned and departed, to the unfolding of life through seasons, to the quiet rhythm of growth and decay that defines the living world. There, nothing remained as it was. Everything became something else. Below, nothing becomes. Everything remains. And so she stands between two conditions that cannot be reconciled, yet are both contained within her. This is the source of her silence, not the absence of speech, but the weight of holding two truths that do not resolve into one. She does not resist the underworld. She does not attempt to reshape it into something that reflects the world above. There is no effort in her to restore what has been lost, no desire to impose movement where stillness defines all things. She accepts the realm as it is. But she does not dissolve into it. This distinction is subtle, but it defines her entirely. Persephone walks the domain of Hades not as one diminished, and not as one fully aligned. She is present without being absorbed, rooted without being fixed. Her existence does not belong to a single state. The souls sense this. They do not approach her as they would a judge, nor revere her as they might a distant ruler. They do not call to her, nor turn away. They feel her. As a difference, a faint disturbance in the otherwise unbroken sameness of the realm. Where Persephone stands, something lingers that cannot be named, not hope, not change, but the memory of both. Hades does not oppose this, nor does he attempt to draw her fully into his nature. Their presence together is not a merging, but a balance. He remains constant, unmoved by time, defined by permanence. She remains something else, not unstable, but not fixed. Between them, the underworld finds a form that does not fracture. For without Hades, the realm would lack order, and without Persephone, it would lack relation. She does not govern through command. She does not assign fate or alter the path of souls. Her role is quieter. She exists as a connection that cannot be severed. Without her, the underworld would be complete in itself, sealed, final, without reference to anything beyond it. With her, it remains part of something larger. A continuation, not an end. There are moments, though time does not pass here as it does above, when her presence seems to shift, not visibly, not in form, but in orientation, as though some part of her turns, faintly, toward the memory of light, and in those moments the stillness of the underworld carries something unfamiliar. Not movement, but the suggestion of it. The souls do not understand this. They do not question it. They remain as they are, held within the state they have entered. But the realm itself seems to hold the echo. A quiet awareness that what exists here was not always so. Persephone does not speak of the world above. She does not bring its language into this place, nor attempt to translate what cannot be translated. The underworld does not require explanation, and she does not offer it. She carries what she knows without expression. This is her solitude. Not isolation, but division within unity. To exist in two conditions at once, without fully belonging to either, is to carry a form of distance that cannot be shared. And yet, she does not seek to resolve it. She remains, as she is. This is why she is not merely queen. She is not defined by title, nor contained by role. She is the boundary itself, the place where life and death meet without merging, the quiet line where one state ends and another begins and continues. She does not bring life into the underworld. She brings the awareness that life existed, and that awareness does not fade entirely, even here. In her presence, the silence of the realm becomes something more than absence. It becomes a stillness that holds memory. A stillness that is not empty, but full of what has been carried into it. Persephone remains within this space, not as a visitor, not as a captive, but as something essential to the balance that sustains it. She does not change the underworld, but without her, it would not be what it is, and so she endures. Quiet, unresolved, holding within herself the only trace of something that no longer moves, yet has not been entirely forgotten. There are moments when the boundary between worlds does not hold. It does not break with sound. It opens, quietly, without warning. The earth, which seems so stable to those who walk upon it, is not as fixed as it appears. Beneath it, another realm waits, not distant, but close enough to touch, if the right moment arrives. Persephone did not descend as others do. She did not move toward the underworld through the slow, inevitable passage that claims every mortal life. She was taken in a moment that did not belong to time as it is normally understood. One instant, she stood within the world of light. The next, the ground itself opened. There was no gradual crossing, no threshold felt and understood, only a sudden separation. The world above did not resist. It did not close around her. It remained as it was, as though nothing had changed. But something had. A presence had been removed, and in that absence, a shift began. The act itself is often remembered as force, as a taking. But beneath that telling lies something more difficult to name. Inevitability. For Hades did not move in impulse. He did not reach upward out of desire alone. He acted within a structure that already existed, a division between worlds that, at times, allows crossing. Persephone's descent was not only an event, it was a moment where that division thinned, and once crossed, it did not easily restore itself. Above, the world continued, but it did not continue in the same way. Demeter, who knew the rhythms of growth and return, felt the absence immediately, not as loss in the human sense, but as disruption. The cycle that had once moved without interruption faltered. The earth no longer responded as it had. Seeds remained dormant. Fields did not yield. The quiet agreement between time and life began to unravel. This is how the seasons changed, not through decision, but through imbalance. Below, Persephone entered a realm that did not mirror what she had left. There was no sky to return to, no horizon to orient herself against, only stillness, and within that stillness, presence. Hades did not greet her as a conqueror, nor as a stranger. He received her as something that now belonged within his domain, not because she had been diminished, but because the crossing had already occurred. This is the nature of the underworld. What enters it does not leave unchanged. Persephone did not resist in the way the living imagine resistance. There was no struggle that could reverse what had already taken place. The moment of descent does not allow for return. It allows only for continuation. And so, she remained. The world above and the world below were now connected through her, not by passage, but by consequence. Demeter's search did not restore what had been lost. It revealed the depth of what had changed. The longer Persephone remained below, the more the earth reflected her absence. Life slowed. Growth receded. What had once been continuous became divided. A cycle was forming, not yet understood, but already present. In time, though time does not move the same for gods as it does for mortals, an agreement would emerge, not to undo what had happened, but to contain it. Persephone would not remain entirely below, nor would she return fully above. She would move between, and in that movement, the world would find a new rhythm. Seasons would become defined by absence and return, by presence and withdrawal, by the quiet acknowledgement that what is lost can return, but never in the same way. The abduction was not only an act, it was a transformation, not of Persephone alone, but of the structure of the world itself. Above and below were no longer separate in the same way. They had become connected through a single existence, a queen who belonged to both, and to neither. The earth would continue. It would grow again. It would rest. It would repeat. But it would never return to what it had been before that moment. For something had entered its rhythm that could not be removed. The knowledge of loss. And the possibility of return. Persephone's descent did not end with her arrival in the underworld. It continued. Above. Below. Within every cycle that followed. A quiet reminder that the boundary between life and death is not fixed. It opens, and when it does, nothing remains entirely unchanged. There is no single threshold where the world of the living ends, no visible edge where one may stand and look beyond, no boundary marked clearly enough to be recognized before it is crossed. And yet, the division exists, not as a line drawn across the earth, but as a condition that separates what lives from what remains. The gates between worlds are not built of stone or guarded by walls that can be approached and tested. They are not structures that stand in place, waiting to be found. They are moments. Points of passage where existence shifts from one state into another. To the living, such gates are imagined as openings, doors that can be entered, thresholds that can be stepped across with intention. But the true gates do not operate through choice. They operate through alignment. When the conditions are met, the crossing has already begun. Most who pass through never perceive the gate itself. There is no instant where it becomes visible, no sensation that clearly marks the transition. The body remains where it must. The world above continues in its motion. And yet, something has already separated. The soul moves, not forward, not downward, but away, and somewhere within that movement, the gate has been crossed. There are places in the world where this boundary feels thinner. A cavern that descends beyond the reach of light, where sound seems to withdraw rather than echo. A forest where the air holds a stillness that does not belong to the living world. A shoreline where the horizon appears less like distance and more like an ending. These places are not entrances, they are reflections. They suggest the presence of something beyond, but they do not grant passage by themselves. The gate is not located in space, it exists in transition. For the dead, this transition is inevitable. They do not seek the gate. They become part of it. But there are rare moments when the boundary does not hold as firmly, moments when the separation between life and death shifts just enough to allow something unusual, a crossing that is not meant to occur, the living entering where only the dead belong. Such descents are never simple. They do not happen through curiosity alone. They require something beyond intention, a force of will that does not falter, a guidance that understands what cannot be seen, or a fate that compels movement where none should exist. Even then, the gate does not welcome. It yields. There is a difference. For the underworld does not open itself to the living. It permits passage only when the balance between worlds allows it. And that balance is not easily disturbed. The gates are not guarded in the way mortals understand guardianship. There are no armies that stand watch, no barriers that can be overcome through strength. Instead, there are presences, subtle, unyielding, that ensure the boundary remains intact. They do not challenge those who approach. They do not speak. They exist as part of the structure itself, maintaining what must remain separate. For if the boundary were to dissolve entirely, the distinction between life and death would vanish, and without that distinction, neither state could continue as it is. This is why the gates remain unseen, why they do not reveal themselves to those who search for them. They are not meant to be found, they are meant to function. For those who cross while still living, the experience is not one of discovery, it is one of dislocation. The world does not unfold before them as a new landscape. It withdraws. The familiar begins to lose its meaning. The senses, once reliable, become uncertain. And slowly, without a clear moment of change, the realization comes that they have entered a place where they do not fully belong. Returning from such a crossing is not a matter of retracing steps. The gate does not remain open behind them. It closes not in space, but in state. The one who has crossed is no longer the same as the one who approached. And what has changed cannot always be undone. This is why so few return, not because they are forbidden, but because the path itself does not persist. The gates between worlds are not obstacles, they are transitions. They do not challenge those who pass, they transform them. Most will never see them, most will never feel the moment of crossing. And yet every life moves toward them, not by choice, but by design. They remain where they have always been. Unseen, unmarked, unavoidable, not waiting for those who seek them, but present for those who will, in time, arrive. And when that moment comes, the gate does not open, it has already been crossed. There is a point in the descent where movement must change, where the passage that carried the soul can no longer continue as it was. It does not end, it transforms. For before the deeper regions of the underworld can be reached, there is something that must be crossed, a boundary not of land, but of water. The river does not rush. It does not crash against unseen shores or carve its way through resistance. It moves slowly, deliberately, as though time itself has been stretched within it. Its surface does not reflect light, for light does not reach it, and yet it is not invisible, it is present, a dark current that separates what has begun from what must follow. The souls gather at its edge, not by instruction, not by force, but because the descent brings them here. There is no confusion in this moment, no question of what must be done. The river stands between them and the continuation of their passage, and in that stillness, something becomes clear. They cannot cross alone. This is where Charon waits. He does not arrive, he is already there. A figure not defined by presence in the way of gods or mortals, but by function. He does not change, he does not speak unless it is required. His existence is bound entirely to the act he performs. He ferries, nothing more, nothing less. His boat rests against the unseen shore, worn not by time but by repetition. Countless crossings have passed through it, and yet it remains unchanged, as though it exists outside the erosion that defines the living world. Charon does not call to the souls, he does not guide them forward. He waits for what must occur, and when it does, he moves. There is an understanding among the dead that cannot be spoken, a recognition that passage requires acknowledgement. A coin, placed with the body before death, becomes something more than an object here. It is not payment in the way the living understand exchange, it is recognition of the crossing. A gesture that affirms the transition has been accepted. Those who arrive without it do not cross. They remain at the edge, not rejected, not punished, but unable to continue. This is not cruelty, it is structure. The river does not bend, and Charon does not alter what has been set in place. The souls who cannot cross do not fade, they linger, caught between what has ended and what has not yet begun. This is the closest the underworld comes to unrest, not movement, but suspension. For those who do cross, the passage is quiet. The boat moves without sound, gliding across water that does not ripple in the way of the living world. There is no wind to carry it, no visible force that propels it forward, and yet it moves. The souls do not speak. They do not turn back. There is nothing behind them that can be returned to, and nothing ahead that can yet be understood. Only the crossing itself. Charon does not look at them as individuals. He does not consider who they were, what they did, or what they carry. To him, all who arrive are the same, not because they lack difference, but because difference no longer determines passage. His role is not to judge, it is to continue. The river stretches beyond sight, though it is not infinite. It exists as long as it must, and no longer. And when the far shore is reached, the boat does not pause. The souls step away, not by instruction, but because the movement that brought them has ended. Charon does not linger. He turns, and begins again. There is no rest in this task, no variation, no moment where the pattern shifts. The dead continue to arrive, and he continues to ferry. The river remains what it has always been, a boundary that must be crossed, but cannot be altered. A passage that does not belong to the living world, yet defines what follows it. To stand at its edge is to stand at the final distance from life. To cross it is to leave that distance behind. Charon does not mark this transition with ceremony, he does not announce its meaning. He performs it, again and again and again, until all who must cross have crossed. And the river continues to flow, not toward an end, but toward completion, a quiet, endless movement that carries every soul from what was into what remains. Water, in the world above, is a beginning. It gathers, nourishes, reflects the sky, and returns again to where it once was. It moves in cycles, never remaining in one state for long. Below, it does not return. It remembers. The rivers of the underworld are not sources of life, nor are they paths that lead outward. They are boundaries, each one marking a condition that cannot be undone once entered. They do not rush with urgency. They do not erode what surrounds them. They endure. There are 5, not arranged as a map that can be followed, but as presences that shape the structure of the realm itself. Each river carries something that belongs not to the body, but to what remains when the body is gone. The first is the one most souls encounter without understanding it. Acheron. It moves slowly, its surface unbroken by wind or light. It does not reflect, because there is nothing above it to reflect, and yet it carries a weight that can be felt even without touch. It is often called the river of sorrow. But this sorrow is not the kind that cries out. It does not rise. It settles. What has been lost in life does not disappear when life ends. It becomes something quieter, something that no longer seeks expression. Acheron holds this, not as pain, but as presence. The souls who pass near it do not weep. They do not reach toward it. They simply move alongside what it carries. Then there is Cocytus. If Acheron holds sorrow, Cocytus gives it voice, though not in any way the living would recognize. It is called the River of Lamentation, yet its sound is not sharp or immediate. It is distant, like an echo that continues long after its source has vanished. It does not disturb the stillness, it exists within it. There is something unresolved in Cocytus, not active, not demanding, but present, like a memory that cannot fully fade, yet cannot return to what it once was. The souls do not answer it, they do not turn toward it, but it remains, carrying what has no place elsewhere. Deeper still flows Phlegethon. It does not resemble water as it is known above. It burns. Not wildly, not destructively, but with a steady, contained intensity. Its fire does not leap or spread. It moves as a current, held within its own boundaries. To encounter it is not to be consumed, it is to feel the presence of something that does not change through destruction, but through persistence. Phlegethorn does not erase. It refines. What enters its presence is not undone, but altered in a way that does not return to its previous form. It is a river of transformation without movement, a paradox that exists without needing to resolve itself. Beyond it lies Styx, the most absolute of all. It does not speak, it does not carry sound or flame or echo, it carries certainty. To swear upon Styx is to bind oneself beyond reversal. Even the gods, who move freely through many realms, do not escape its weight. What is pledged here cannot be undone without consequence that reaches beyond intention. Styx does not judge, it does not decide what is true. It holds what has been declared and ensures that it remains. Nothing given to Styx returns unchanged. And finally, there is Lethe, the quietest of all the rivers. It does not announce itself. It does not carry sorrow or fire or binding force. It offers something else. Release. To drink from Lethe is to forget, not selectively, not partially, completely. Memory does not resist its waters. It does not struggle to remain. It dissolves as though it had never been held at all. For some, this is a relief that cannot be named. For others, it is a final separation from everything that wants to find them. But the souls who approach Lethe do not hesitate. They do not weigh what will be lost. They do not turn away. They move as they must. The rivers do not cross one another. They do not merge into a greater current. Each remains distinct, holding its own condition, its own meaning, its own place within the structure of the underworld. Together, they do not guide, they define. They shape the space through which the dead exist, not by directing movement, but by establishing what cannot be escaped. The souls do not question them. They do not seek to understand why these rivers are as they are. Understanding belongs to life. Here, there is only continuation. To the living, these rivers might seem symbolic, reflections of grief, of memory, of consequence. But in the underworld, they are not symbols. They are conditions. Each one holds something that cannot be left behind. Each one ensures that what has been carried into death remains, or is released, or is bound. In their quiet, unchanging presence, the rivers of the underworld do not lead toward an end. They hold what has already ended, and in doing so, they ensure that nothing that enters this realm exists without form, even in stillness, even in silence, even beyond life. The rivers continue, not toward anything, but within everything that remains. There is a boundary that, once crossed, is not meant to be undone, not enforced by walls, not sealed by doors, but held, guarded not by judgment, but by presence. At the threshold between arrival and return, where the underworld settles fully around those who enter it, there stands something that does not reason, does not question, does not waver. Cerberus. He is not merely a creature, he is a function-made form. 3 heads, each aware, each watchful, yet not separate in purpose. They do not argue, they do not divide their attention. They exist as one awareness expressed in many directions. Nothing escapes them, not because they pursue, but because nothing passes them without being known. Cerberus does not roam the underworld. He remains, positioned where departure would begin, if departure were possible. This is his place, not at the gates where souls arrive, for arrival does not need to be prevented, but where return would occur. And return is not part of the design. The dead pass him without resistance. They do not fear him, they do not challenge him, they do not even fully perceive him as something separate from the structure of the realm. For to the dead, there is no instinct to leave, no impulse to retrace what has already been crossed. Cerberus is not there for them. He is there for the exception. For the rare, unnatural moment when something living approaches from within. For the one who still carries breath, still carries will, still carries the memory of movement. This is what he recognizes. Not identity, not intention, but condition. The living do not belong, and when they approach, the stillness of the underworld shifts, not visibly, not in form, but in awareness. Cerberus becomes alert, not aggressive, not chaotic, but absolute. His presence does not erupt into motion without cause. It tightens, focuses, as though the boundary itself has drawn closer around him. The three heads do not simply watch outward, they watch through. Nothing passes unnoticed, nothing slips between. There is no deception that escapes him, no disguise that conceals what should not be there. He does not think in the way mortals think. He does not deliberate. He does not choose. He acts as the boundary acts, without hesitation, without doubt. There have been moments, rare, singular, when the living have reached him. Not by accident, never by accident. Such crossings require more than courage, more than intention. They require something that alters the balance itself. Music that quiets what cannot be reasoned with. Strength that does not oppose, but overcomes through inevitability. A presence that carries permission beyond the ordinary limits of life. In these moments, Cerberus does not fail. He yields. But even this yielding is not submission. It is alignment. For the boundary does not break. It adjusts, only for as long as it must. And when the moment passes, it restores itself completely. Cerberus does not remember these crossings. He does not hold them as exceptions. He returns instantly to what he is. A watcher, a presence, a certainty. His form reflects his purpose. Three heads, each facing a different direction, yet bound to a single will. No approach escapes notice. No retreat escapes awareness. Even his body speaks of containment, coiled, grounded, unmoving unless movement is required. He does not chase, he prevents. This is a different kind of power, not the power to act freely, but the power to remain, to ensure that what has been crossed cannot be undone. In the world above, guardians are often seen as protectors. They defend, they react, they respond to threat. Cerberus does none of these things. He does not protect the underworld from intrusion. He protects its condition. He ensures that death remains separate from life, that what has entered does not return as it was, that the boundary holds, not through force, but through presence that cannot be bypassed. Even the gods do not ignore him. They do not command him as they might command other beings. For Cerberus is not a servant in the way others are. He is part of the structure itself, as necessary as the rivers, as constant as the stillness, as inevitable as the descent. To stand before him is not to face an enemy, it is to face the limit. The final point where movement stops, where reversal ends, where the path once taken no longer offers another direction. He does not speak this, he does not declare it, he embodies it, and so he remains, at the edge of what cannot be undone. Unmoving, unquestioning, unyielding, except in the rare moments when the balance itself allows otherwise, and beyond him there is no return. Only the certainty that what has been crossed will remain crossed. There is a moment after crossing, when stillness becomes something else. Not movement, not return, but direction. The soul, having passed the river and the boundary that cannot be undone, does not wander without form. It does not remain suspended in an endless sameness. It is brought, not by force, not by command, but by the nature of what it carries, toward judgment. This is not judgment as the living imagine it. There is no spectacle, no proclamation, no voice that rises above others to declare what must be. It is quieter, more precise, more final. Three figures stand within this space, not elevated, not distant, but present in a way that cannot be avoided. Minos, Rhadamanthus, Aeacus. They were once mortal, and because of this, they understand what it means to have lived. They do not look upon the dead as something separate from themselves. They recognize what stands before them, not in form, but in essence. Each judge holds a different weight, not in authority, but in function. Rhadamanthus sees clearly. There is no confusion in his presence, no uncertainty in how he perceives what has been done. He does not deliberate for long, for what is presented to him does not require interpretation. It is already known. Aeacus stands at the threshold between decision and placement. He does not weigh in the same way, nor does he declare. He ensures that what has been determined finds its place within the structure of the underworld. He is not the voice of judgment. He is its continuation. And Minos. Minos does not rush. Where there is division, where certainty does not immediately resolve, it is he who considers, not with hesitation, but with depth. He does not seek to change what has been done. He seeks to see it completely. Together, they do not form a court, they form a process, a movement from what was lived to what will remain. The soul does not speak in defence. There is no argument, no attempt to reshape what has already occurred, for nothing can be hidden here. Life, in all its moments, exists as it was, not remembered, not interpreted, but present. Every action, every intention, every silence. The judges do not uncover these things, they see them, as they are, without distortion. This is what makes the judgment absolute, not because it is harsh, but because it is complete. There is no appeal, not because mercy is denied, but because nothing remains unseen that could alter the outcome. The soul stands within its own truth, and the judges recognize it. The decision does not fall like a sentence, it settles, like something that has always been leading to this moment. And once it settles, the path becomes clear, not chosen, but revealed. Some are drawn toward places of quiet continuation, others toward deeper regions where what has been carried cannot be released so easily, and some toward a stillness that holds no distinction at all. The judges do not guide them personally. They do not escort. They do not explain. Their role ends where recognition is complete. The soul moves forward not by instruction, but by alignment. What it is determines where it goes, and what it is cannot be altered in this moment. There is no cruelty in this, no satisfaction, no regret. The judges do not feel the weight of what they decide in the way mortals would. They do not carry burden, they carry clarity. This is why they were chosen, not for power, but for their ability to see without distortion, to hold what is presented without turning away, to recognize truth without needing to reshape it. Judgment in the underworld is not a reaction, it is a recognition, a final seeing of what has been lived, without the uncertainty that defines life above. The soul does not leave this moment unchanged, not because it is altered, but because it is fully known, and once known, it cannot return to uncertainty. The judges remain, as they have always remained, unmoving, unchanging, present for each soul that arrives. They do not count time. They do not measure the passing of ages. They exist within the same stillness as the realm itself, and as long as souls continue to descend, they will continue to see, to recognize, to allow each life to become what it has already made itself into. Quietly, completely, without end. After judgment, there is no announcement, no voice that declares where one must go, no path revealed in sudden clarity, and yet the direction is known, not through instruction, but through alignment. The soul does not choose its fate, it moves into it. As water settles into the shape of what contains it, so too does the soul settle into the condition it has already formed. What was lived does not remain behind. It does not fade into abstraction. It becomes structure. This is the quiet truth of the underworld. Nothing is assigned that has not already begun. The judges do not create destiny. They reveal it. And once revealed, it cannot be resisted. There are many regions within the underworld, but they are not separated by distance alone. They are separated by condition, by the nature of what the soul has become through its life. Some move towards stillness without weight, a place where existence continues, but without burden, without urgency, without the need to change or to act. It is not reward in the way the living imagine reward. It is a state of quiet continuation. Others are drawn towards something heavier, not as punishment imposed, but as consequence that cannot dissolve. What was carried in life remains, not as memory alone, but as presence that shapes experience. And some move toward a vast, undistinguished plane, a space where individuality softens, where distinction fades, where the self becomes less defined, not erased entirely, but diminished. The soul does not question this movement. It does not resist, for resistance belongs to life. Here there is only recognition. What is known. And what is known becomes where one remains. There is no urgency in this transition, no sense of time pressing forward. The movement happens as naturally as breath once did, though breath itself is no longer present. The soul does not arrive at its fate as a traveller reaches a destination. It becomes it, gradually, inevitably. This is what makes the underworld unlike the imaginings of the living. It is not divided by reward and punishment alone. It is shaped by continuity. Each existence flows into what follows it, without interruption, without sudden transformation. There is no forgetting in this moment, not yet. Memory remains, though it begins to change in its weight. What once felt immediate now becomes distant. What once defined action now simply exists as part of what has already been completed. The soul does not relive its life, it carries it. As a whole, there are no moments removed, no fragments lost. Everything remains. But it no longer unfolds, it settles. This settling is not always gentle. For some, what has been carried cannot easily find rest. It continues to press, to define, to shape the experience of what follows, not as punishment imposed from outside, but as something that cannot yet release itself. For others, there is a gradual lightness, not relief, exactly, but a diminishing of weight, as though what was carried has found a place where it no longer needs to be held so tightly. And for many, there is neither weight nor lightness, only continuation. A state that does not demand, does not resist, does not change. The fate of the soul is not written in a single moment. It is written across a life. And the underworld does not rewrite it. It preserves it. This is why there is no appeal, no second judgment, no alteration once the path has been revealed. For nothing new is added. Only what already exists is allowed to continue. The living often imagine fate as something given, as something decided beyond their control. But here it becomes clear. Fate is formed long before it is reached. In choices, in actions, in the quiet moments that seem to pass without consequence. All of it gathers, all of it remains, and all of it becomes what follows. The underworld does not punish, it does not reward. It reveals. And once revealed, the soul enters what it has already made. There is no return from this, not because it is forbidden, but because there is nothing to return to as it once was. The path has been completed, and what follows is not another path, but a state that continues without needing direction. This is the fate of every soul, not imposed, not chosen in the moment, but carried. From life into what remains. And within that quiet continuation, each soul exists exactly as it has become. There is a depth beneath the underworld, where even stillness changes, where the quiet that defines the realm above becomes something heavier, more concentrated, more absolute. This is Tartarus. Not a region that is easily reached, not a place where most souls drift or settle. It lies beyond the ordinary flow of the dead, beneath the structures that govern judgment and fate. To descend into Tartarus is not simply to go deeper. It is to enter a condition where consequence no longer rests. It persists. The space itself does not resemble the rest of the underworld. Where the upper regions hold a kind of still balance, Tartarus carries intensity, not chaos, not disorder, but weight, a pressure that does not lift, a presence that does not recede. It is not a place where souls arrive without cause. Nothing enters Tartarus by accident. It is reserved, not for the many, but for the few whose existence has shaped something that cannot simply settle into stillness. Those who descend here do not carry ordinary lives. They carry something that resists dissolution, something that does not quiet, something that must continue, in a different form. The punishments of Tartarus are often spoken of as cruelty, endless suffering, eternal torment. But within the structure of the underworld, they are something more precise. They are continuations, not of action, but of condition. What was unresolved in life does not disappear here. It becomes constant. There is no escape from it, not because escape is denied, but because there is nowhere to escape to. Tartarus is not enclosed by walls, it is enclosed by inevitability. The figures who remain here are not forgotten, they are remembered through what they endure. Each one exists within a state that reflects something essential about what they were. Not exaggerated, not altered, but made unending. Time does not pass in Tartarus as it does above. There is no progression toward release, no movement toward change. What begins, continues, without interruption, without conclusion. This is what makes it different from all other regions of the underworld. Elsewhere, there is stillness. Here, there is persistence. A continuation that does not soften, does not fade, does not settle. The environment itself reflects this. Darkness here is not simply absence of light, it is density. A presence that surrounds and remains. Sound does not travel. Movement does not carry beyond itself. Everything is contained within its own condition. Even the air, if it can be called air, does not move freely. It holds, as though the space itself refuses to release what it contains. There are no paths leading outward, no rivers that guide, no thresholds that suggest transition. Tartarus does not connect. It confines. Not through force, but through structure that cannot be undone. The beings who exist here are not always mortal. Some are older, more ancient. For Tartarus does not hold only those who lived and died. It holds those who could not remain anywhere else. Those whose presence disrupted the balance beyond what could be allowed to continue. Here they do not act, they do not change, they endure. This endurance is not meaningless. It is exact. Each state reflects something that cannot be erased, something that cannot be absorbed into the stillness of the wider underworld. And so, it is held here. Contained. Unending. The living often imagine Tartarus as a place of judgment made extreme. But the judgment has already passed before anything enters here. What remains is not decision. It is consequence in its most complete form. Nothing new is added, nothing is taken away. Only what is, remains. This is why Tartarus does not need guardians in the way other boundaries do. It does not require enforcement, for what is within it cannot leave, not because it is restrained, but because it belongs there completely. The rest of the underworld continues above it, unchanged, balanced, still, but beneath that stillness, Tartarus remains, not hidden, not forgotten, but separated. A depth that does not rise, a condition that does not resolve, and within it, everything that cannot settle endures, without end, without change, without release. There is a place within the underworld where stillness does not weigh, where existence continues without burden, where what remains does not press inward but settles outward, like a horizon that no longer closes. This is Elysium. It is not reached by wandering, it is not discovered. It is entered only through alignment, not of desire, but of what has already been lived. Those who arrive here do not arrive by chance. They are drawn, as all souls are drawn, toward what reflects their nature. But unlike the deeper regions where consequence becomes density, Elysium holds a different condition. Not reward in the simple sense, not pleasure without end, but ease. A quiet continuation where what has been carried no longer resists itself. The landscape does not mirror the world above, and yet it carries something of its openness. There are fields, though they do not grow. There is light, though it does not come from a sun. There is space, though it does not stretch into distance. Everything exists in a state that does not change, yet does not feel confined. This is the paradox of Elysium. It is stillness without weight. The souls here do not forget immediately. They carry memory, but it no longer presses upon them. What was once urgent becomes distant. What once demanded action now simply exists as something completed. There is no need to act, no need to become, only to remain. And in that remaining, something gentle emerges, not joy as the living understand it, but a quiet absence of conflict. The self no longer moves against itself. It rests within what it has already become. The figures who inhabit Elysium are not separate from one another in the way the living are. They do not gather in crowds, do not form societies, do not build or create. And yet, they are not alone. Presence exists without the need for interaction, recognition without speech. A shared condition that does not require expression. Time does not pass here, not because it has stopped, but because it is no longer relevant. Nothing changes, nothing progresses, nothing declines. The moment does not move forward, it deepens. This is what distinguishes Elysium from all other regions. It is not defined by what happens, but by what no longer needs to happen. The soul does not strive, it does not seek resolution, it does not attempt to alter itself, for there is nothing left to resolve. What was lived has already shaped what remains. And what remains has found a place where it does not conflict with itself. This is why Elysium cannot be reached through intention alone. It is not a destination that can be chosen. It is a state that must already exist within the soul before it arrives. The underworld does not grant it. It reveals it. There are no rulers here, no figures who govern or oversee. Elysium does not require order imposed from above. It holds itself, complete, balanced, unmoving. Even the presence of the gods is distant here, not absent, but unnecessary. For nothing within Elysium calls for intervention. Nothing disrupts, nothing demands change. There is a quietness that cannot be disturbed, a calm that does not depend on anything outside itself. The living often imagine Elysium as a reward, a place of eternal happiness. But such language belongs to a world where contrast defines experience, where joy is known because sorrow exists. Here there is no contrast, only continuation without conflict. It is not happiness. It is peace without awareness of its opposite. Some say that those who dwell here may one day choose to return, to live again, to re-enter the world above. But if this is so, it is not out of lack. It is not because something is missing. It is because even stillness, when held completely, may give rise to movement once more. And yet, while they remain, they do not long. They do not remember in a way that pulls them backward. They do not anticipate what might come. They exist fully within what is. Elysium does not shine. It does not call. It does not promise. It simply exists. A region where the soul, having carried all that it was, finally rests without resistance. And in that quiet, unchanging presence, nothing more is required, nothing more is sought, nothing more is needed. Only the continuation of what has already become whole. There is a place in the underworld where nothing stands out. No extremes. No weight that presses downward. No lightness that lifts. Only a quiet, unbroken sameness. This is the Asphodel Meadows. It is the most vast of all regions. Not because it stretches endlessly, but because it contains what is most common. The souls who arrive here are neither drawn toward depth nor toward ease. They do not carry a weight that demands continuation in suffering, nor a harmony that settles into peace. They simply remain. This is not a punishment, nor is it a reward. It is something in between. A continuation without distinction. The landscape reflects this condition. Fields extend without variation, covered in pale growth that does not change. The asphodel flowers do not bloom or wither. They remain as they are, neither alive nor dead in the way the living understand these states. There is no horizon that draws the eye forward, no landmark that suggests direction, only a soft, endless repetition. The souls here move, but not with purpose. They drift, not lost, but without destination. Their forms are present, yet indistinct, as though the edges that once defined them have softened. They are not erased. But they are no longer sharp. Memory exists here, but it does not hold its shape. What was once vivid becomes distant. What was once important becomes unclear. Names fade. Faces blur. Not suddenly, not completely, but gradually. As though time, though absent, continues to touch them in a different way. This is the nature of the Asphodel Meadows. Not forgetting as an act, but forgetting as a condition. The souls do not resist this. They do not attempt to hold on to what is slipping away. For the urgency to remember belongs to life. Here, there is no urgency, only continuation. There are no rulers in this place, no figures who guide or direct. The judges have already done their work. What remains does not require further decision. The structure holds itself, balanced not by force, but by absence of conflict. The souls do not interact in the way the living do. They pass one another without recognition, not because they cannot see, but because recognition no longer carries meaning. Connection, as it was known above, does not persist here. It dissolves, not painfully, not violently, but inevitably. There is a quiet neutrality in this place. Nothing rises, nothing falls, nothing changes. It is not emptiness. It is fullness without differentiation. The living often fear this more than Tartarus, not because it holds suffering, but because it holds none. To exist without distinction, without memory that defines, without purpose that moves, this is difficult to imagine from a world where identity is shaped by change. But within the underworld, it is not unnatural. It is simply one of many conditions. The Asphodel Meadows do not erase the soul. They soften it. They remove the edges that once separated one life from another. What remains is not nothing, but something quieter, less defined, less bound to what was. Some say that all souls pass through here at some point, that even those who are drawn elsewhere carry within them a trace of this condition, a gradual fading of what once held them firmly in place. Whether this is true cannot be known, for those within the meadows do not question their state. They do not look beyond it. They do not seek to leave. The idea of elsewhere does not remain strong enough to call them away. This is what makes the place complete. not because it fulfills something, but because it removes the need for fulfillment. The fields remain unchanged. The pale flowers do not shift with wind, for there is no wind. The air does not move, the ground does not alter. Everything is held in a quiet permanence that does not draw attention to itself. And within it, the souls continue, not as they were, not as something entirely new, but as something in between, a presence without urgency, a memory without clarity, an existence that does not seek meaning, and therefore does not lose it. The Asphodel Meadows do not ask anything of those who remain there. They do not shape them further. They do not return them to what they were. They hold them gently, completely, until what once defined them becomes something that no longer needs to be defined at all. There are conditions that do not resolve, not because they are denied an ending, but because they were never meant to end. Within the deeper reaches of the underworld, beyond judgment and beyond simple continuation, there exists a form of existence that does not settle into stillness. It repeats, not as time repeats, but as condition. The punishments of the underworld are often imagined as acts imposed, suffering delivered by force, pain inflicted as retribution. But beneath this imagining lies something quieter, more precise, and far more difficult to escape. They are not given, they are revealed. Each punishment is not separate from the soul that endures it. It emerges from it. What could not be resolved in life becomes unending in death. There is no single form these punishments take. They do not follow a pattern that can be anticipated. Each one reflects something specific, something carried forward, something that does not dissolve with the end of life. And because of this, they do not need to be enforced. They continue on their own. This is what makes them endless, not because they are maintained, but because they cannot conclude. In the world above, suffering often carries the possibility of change. It rises, it peaks, it fades. Even the most enduring pain is shaped by time. But here, time does not move. There is no progression, no moment where what is experienced becomes less than it was. Everything remains as it is, and continues. This continuation is not chaotic, it is exact. Each act repeats not in variation, but in precision. The same motion, the same effort, the same result, again and again, without deviation. There is no surprise in it, no uncertainty, only certainty that does not change. The soul does not forget what it is doing. It does not lose awareness of its condition. This is what defines the punishment, not pain alone, but awareness within repetition. To know what is happening, and to know that it will not end. There is no observer here, no audience, no judgment that continues to watch. The judges have already seen. What remains is not oversight, it is continuation. The punishments do not require validation. They do not need to be witnessed. They exist entirely within the structure of what they are. This creates a form of isolation that is complete. Not loneliness, not absence of others, but separation from change itself. The soul cannot step outside what it is experiencing. It cannot move into another condition. It cannot interrupt the pattern, for the pattern is what it has become. This is the deeper nature of consequence, not something applied from outside, but something that continues from within. There is no negotiation, no moment where the punishment is reconsidered. For nothing new enters the underworld, nothing is added that was not already present. The living often imagine that such punishments exist to teach, to correct, to transform. But there is no transformation here, only persistence. The lesson, if it exists, belongs to the world above, not to the one who endures it, for the one who endures it has already become what they are. There is no further becoming. This is why the punishments do not end, not because they are prolonged, but because they are complete. There is no next state, no transition waiting beyond them, only continuation, endless, unbroken, exact. And yet within this, there is no excess. Nothing is exaggerated beyond what it already is. The punishments are not larger than the souls that hold them. They are equal to them, perfectly aligned. This is what gives them their permanence. There is no imbalance that could cause them to collapse, no external force that could undo them. They remain, because they fit. The deeper one considers this, the quieter it becomes, for what appears as cruelty from the outside reveals itself within the structure of the underworld as something else entirely. Not mercy, not justice as the living understand it, but completion. The punishments do not add anything to the soul, they do not take anything away, they hold it exactly as it is, without interruption, without relief, without change, and in that unchanging state, they continue, not toward an end, but within one that has already been reached, a condition that does not move forward, because it has nowhere else to go, and so it remains, endlessly, precisely, as it has become. There are burdens that do not appear in action, they do not manifest in visible consequence, they do not take form in the world as something that can be seen, measured, or answered, and yet they endure. Regret is one of these. It does not demand attention while life moves forward. It lingers quietly, beneath decisions, beneath moments that pass without recognition. It waits, not for resolution, but for stillness. In the underworld, where movement ceases and time no longer carries the soul forward, regret does not fade. It remains, not as memory alone, but as presence. There is no single place where this condition resides. It does not belong only to Tartarus, nor to the wandering fields of the Asphodel meadows. It exists wherever the soul carries something that cannot be undone, and cannot be forgotten. This is what makes it different from all other forms of consequence. It does not repeat in action. It does not manifest as punishment imposed. It turns inward, and continues there. The soul, no longer moving through moments, no longer shaping outcomes, becomes aware of what was left incomplete. Not as a sequence of events, but as a singular weight that does not disperse. What was not said, what was not done, what was done, and cannot be undone. These do not rise one by one, they exist together. A quiet accumulation that does not dissolve. In life, regret is softened by time. It is interrupted by change, by distraction, by the simple act of continuing forward. It does not hold its full form for long. But in death, there is no interruption, no movement to carry it away. It remains in its complete state. This is the curse. Not suffering that comes from outside, but awareness that cannot be escaped. There is no voice that speaks it, no figure that enforces it. The soul encounters itself, fully, without distortion, without distraction, without the distance that life once provided. And in that encounter, regret does not accuse. It reveals, not loudly, not with force, but with clarity that does not allow itself to be turned away from. This clarity is not sudden. It does not arrive as a shock. It settles, gradually. As the last traces of movement fall away, what remains begins to take shape. And once it has taken shape, it does not change. The soul does not attempt to correct what it sees. There is no correction, no return, no second moment in which a different choice can be made. This is what separates regret from other forms of continuation. It contains within it the knowledge of possibility, and the certainty that possibility no longer exists. There is no repetition here, no endless task, no visible act that continues, only awareness, unbroken, still, complete. Some souls carry this lightly, not because their lives were without flaw, but because what remains does not bind them entirely. The weight is present, but it does not define their condition. For others, it becomes central, not overwhelming, not chaotic, but constant, a quiet presence that shapes everything that follows. There is no relief from it, but there is also no escalation. It does not grow, it does not intensify, it simply remains exactly as it is. This is what makes it enduring. It does not seek attention, it does not demand expression. It exists without movement, without change, without end. The living often imagine regret as something to be resolved, to be answered, to be forgiven. But in the underworld, resolution is no longer part of existence. What remains does not seek to be undone. It exists as what has been, and in that existence it cannot be altered. This is not cruelty, it is completion without correction. The soul does not fragment under this, it does not collapse, it endures, holding what it carries without release, without escape, without the possibility of becoming something else. There is a quiet stillness in this state, not peaceful, not restless, but settled, as though everything that could have been done has already passed, and what remains is only the awareness of it. The curse of eternal regret is not visible, it cannot be observed from outside. It does not announce itself. It does not take form that can be described fully. It exists within, and because of this, it is complete. Nothing can be added to it. Nothing can be taken away. It does not move forward. It does not return. It remains, as all things do in the underworld. But unlike other conditions, it carries with it the quiet knowledge of what might have been, and the certainty that it will never be. There are punishments that are seen, and there are those that are understood. Sisyphus exists between the two. His condition is visible, simple in form, almost easy to describe. A stone, a slope, a movement that repeats without end. And yet, what it reveals is not simple at all. He does not wander. He does not drift. He acts. Again, and again, and again. The stone rests at the base of the incline, unmoving until he approaches it. There is no command that begins the action. No signal that marks the start. The movement resumes as though it had never stopped. He places his hands against the weight and pushes. The slope does not resist him in the way of an obstacle that can be overcome. It does not challenge his strength, does not vary its steepness, does not change in response to his effort. It remains constant. And so does the stone. It rises slowly, each step deliberate, each motion contained within a pattern that has no deviation. There is no moment where the task becomes easier, no moment where the end comes closer. There is only continuation. To the living, this is often seen as futility, an endless task without purpose, without resolution, without reward. But within the underworld, it is something more exact. It is alignment. Sisyphus does not question the stone. He does not pause to consider why the slope exists or why the task does not end. These questions belong to a world where outcomes can still be changed. Here, there is no change. There is only what is. And what is continues. The stone reaches the height it must reach. Not the top, never the top, but the point at which its ascent cannot be sustained. And then, without resistance, without sudden collapse, it returns, rolling downward, back to where it began. The motion is as steady as the ascent, unhurried, unavoidable. Sisyphus does not chase it. He follows, and when it rests once more at the base, the movement begins again. This is the structure of his existence. Not a cycle marked by time, but a condition that repeats without variation. There is no progress within it, no accumulation of effort that leads to change. Each ascent is the same as the one before it. Each descent erases nothing, alters nothing, concludes nothing. It simply returns. The weight of the stone does not lessen. His strength does not diminish. Nothing moves toward exhaustion. Nothing moves toward completion. This is what makes the condition complete. It does not break. It does not shift. It remains perfectly aligned with itself. The living often search for meaning within this. They imagine defiance. They imagine endurance. They imagine a struggle that contains some hidden victory. But the underworld does not hold such narratives. There is no victory here, and no defeat, only continuation. Sisyphus does not overcome the stone. He does not fail to overcome it. He exists within it. The action is not separate from him. It is what he has become. This is the nature of his punishment, not the effort itself, but the impossibility of conclusion, the absence of an end that would give the movement meaning beyond itself. And yet the movement persists, not driven by hope, not driven by despair, but by structure. The stone does not question why it rolls. The slope does not question why it rises, and Sisyphus does not question why he pushes. All exist within the same condition, perfectly contained, perfectly unchanging. There is something quiet in this, not peace, not suffering in the way it is imagined, but exactness, a condition that does not exceed itself, that does not falter, that does not resolve. The underworld does not require variation. It holds what is already complete. And Sisyphus is complete within this motion. The stone rises, the stone falls, and between these two movements there is no difference. Only repetition that does not acknowledge itself as repetition. This is what remains. Not the man who once acted in life, not the choices that brought him here, but the condition that followed them, endless, unbroken, unchanged, and as long as the underworld endures, the stone will continue to rise, and to fall, and to rise again, without beginning, without end. There are punishments that repeat in stillness, and there are those that move, relentlessly, without pause. Ixion does not stand as Sisyphus stands, nor reach as Tantalus reaches. His existence is bound to motion, not chosen, not directed, but imposed through a structure that does not allow rest. A wheel turns, not slowly, not violently, but endlessly. It does not begin, it does not end. It continues. Ixion is bound to it, not placed upon it as something separate, but fixed into its movement, as though he and the wheel are no longer distinct. His form follows its turning, carried through rotation that does not change in speed, does not falter, does not deviate. There is no ground beneath him that remains still, no point of return, no place where motion settles, only rotation. Again and again and again, fire surrounds the wheel. Not wild, not consuming in the way of destruction, but constant. It does not spread outward. It remains within the structure, moving as the wheel moves, contained yet inescapable. It does not burn to end, it burns to continue. This is the nature of Ixion's condition, not a moment of suffering that rises and falls, but a state that does not pause long enough to be measured. The living often imagine motion as progress, as movement toward something, but here motion does not lead. It returns. Every turn of the wheel brings Ixion through the same space, the same position, the same condition, without change. There is no destination hidden within the turning, no eventual release waiting at the end of repetition. The movement itself is the state, and it does not alter. There is no disorientation in the way the living would experience it, no dizziness, no confusion. For such sensations depend on contrast, on the difference between stillness and motion. Here there is no stillness, only continuation. Ixion does not resist the turning, not because he accepts it, but because resistance has no place within it. There is no fixed point from which to push against the movement, no leverage, no interruption. The wheel does not allow it. It carries him entirely. This is what defines the punishment, not the fire alone, not the motion alone, but the absence of rest, the impossibility of pause, the inability to exist even for a moment outside the condition that continues. In life, motion can be escaped. One can stop, one can step away, one can choose stillness. Here, stillness does not exist as an option, and without stillness, there is no contrast. Without contrast, there is no change, only the same condition, endlessly sustained. The wheel does not wear down, the fire does not diminish, Ixion does not weaken. Nothing moves toward exhaustion, nothing approaches an end. This is not a cycle that deteriorates. It is a condition that remains exact. Every rotation is identical to the last. Every moment is contained within the same unbroken pattern. The living often search for meaning within such punishments. They ask what it represents, what it reflects, what it teaches. But within the underworld, meaning does not arise from interpretation. It arises from alignment. Ixion does not symbolize motion. He exists within it, completely, without distance, without reflection. There is no observer here, no witness to mark the passing of rotations, no voice to declare what is occurring. The wheel turns, the fire remains, and Ixion continues within it. This is what endures, not the memory of his life, not the actions that brought him here, but the condition that followed. A motion that does not move forward, a turning that does not progress, a state that does not release. The underworld does not require explanation. It does not justify what it holds. It preserves. And in preserving, it allows each condition to exist as it is, without interruption, without alteration, without end. Ixion turns, not toward anything, not away from anything, but within the endless rotation of what he has become. And as long as the wheel continues, there is no moment beyond it, only the turning, always the turning, unbroken, unchanging, eternal. There are punishments that move in cycles, and there are those that never even complete one. The Danades do not push toward an end that slips away. They never reach the end at all. Their task begins, and remains unfinished, forever. They stand beside vessels that do not hold, large, open, waiting, and within their hands water, always water, carried carefully, deliberately, as though the act itself still matters. They pour, and the water disappears, not spilled, not lost through sudden break or force. It passes through the vessel itself, through openings that do not close, that do not change, that do not respond to effort or time. The vessel remains empty, always empty. There is no accumulation, no measure of progress, no moment where what has been poured begins to remain. The Danades do not stop. They return to the source, they gather water once more, and they pour again. This is their condition, not repetition of completion, but repetition of incompletion, an action that never fulfills itself. In the world above, effort moves toward result. Even failure carries a form of conclusion. Something is learned, something changes, something ends. But here nothing concludes, the act exists without outcome. And because it has no outcome, it has no end. The vessels do not resist. They do not shift or break. They simply do not hold. Their emptiness is not caused by damage, it is their nature. To receive, and to release immediately. This is what defines the punishment, not the labour, but the impossibility of completion. The Danades do not question their task. They do not hesitate. There is no moment where they stand still and consider what they are doing, for such reflection belongs to life. Here there is only continuation. They move with a quiet precision, not hurried, not slow, exact. Each motion mirrors the last. Each act unfolds in the same way, without variation, without interruption. There is no error, no misstep, no deviation that might alter the pattern. The water is gathered, the water is poured, the vessel remains empty, again and again and again. There is no exhaustion. Their strength does not diminish, Their movement does not falter, nothing wears down, nothing breaks. For if anything were to change, the condition itself would no longer remain exact, and the underworld does not allow such imprecision. The living often imagine this as futility, as wasted effort, as a task stripped of meaning. But within the structure of the underworld, it is not meaningless, it is complete. The act does not need an outcome to exist. It exists as what it is, fully, without needing to become something else. This is what makes it endless, not the length of time, but the absence of transition. The Danaids do not move toward rest. They do not approach a moment where the vessels will hold. There is no final attempt, no last act that changes what has always been. Only the continuation of the same motion, unbroken, unresolved, exact. The water itself does not change. It does not resist being carried. It does not hesitate before slipping through the vessel. It behaves as it must, as everything must, within the structure that contains it. There is no frustration here, no visible struggle, no expression of despair, for such things depend on the possibility of change, and where change does not exist, neither do these responses. What remains is action without expectation, movement without anticipation, a task that does not move toward fulfillment, because fulfillment is not part of its nature. The Danaids do not seek completion. They enact incompletion, endlessly. There is something quiet in this, a stillness within the motion, not because the act is calm, but because it does not deviate. Nothing rises within it, nothing falls, nothing interrupts. It remains the same, perfectly contained, perfectly aligned. The underworld does not impose excess. It does not distort what it holds. It allows each condition to exist exactly as it is. And for the Danaids, what they are is this: an act that never completes, a vessel that never fills, a motion that never arrives. There is no end waiting beyond this, no transformation that follows repetition, no release that comes after endurance. Only the continuation of what has already been reached. And so they remain. Gathering, pouring, returning, again and again and again, not moving forward, not falling behind, but existing entirely within a single unbroken condition. The vessel remains empty, the water continues to pass, and the act never becomes complete. There is a question that lingers beneath all that has been seen, not spoken, not answered, but present. What is punishment when nothing changes? In the world above, punishment is bound to time. It begins, it unfolds, and eventually it ends. It is measured, justified, debated. It exists within a system that allows for movement, for correction, for redemption, for transformation. But here, none of these exist. There is no before, no after, no moment where what is experienced becomes something else. And so, punishment cannot be understood in the same way. It is not an event, it is not an action imposed, it is a condition that remains. The figures within Tartarus do not suffer because something is being done to them. They exist within what they have become, endlessly, without interruption. This is the first shift in understanding. Punishment is not separate from the soul. It is not delivered from outside. It emerges from within and is preserved. What appears as cruelty to the living is, within the underworld, a form of exactness. Nothing is exaggerated, nothing is diminished. What is carried into death becomes what continues in death. And when it cannot resolve, it does not fade. It remains. There is no intention behind it, no desire to inflict, no satisfaction taken in its continuation. The underworld does not act, it holds. This is what makes its punishments so difficult to comprehend. They are not guided by will, they are guided by structure. A structure that does not deviate, does not respond, does not adjust itself to the experience of those within it. It simply maintains what is already present. In life, actions are followed by consequences that can be altered by time. Regret can soften, memory can fade, circumstances can change. But here, none of these forces exist, and so consequence becomes permanent, not extended, but fixed. This is what gives punishment its endurance, not the intensity of suffering, but the absence of resolution. To understand this is to move away from the idea of justice as balance. There is no scale here, no weighing of one act against another in a way that leads to adjustment. The weighing has already occurred. What follows is not correction, it is continuation. The soul does not become something new within punishment. It remains what it is, fully, without distraction, without interruption. This is why there is no escape, not because it is denied, but because there is nowhere to move that is not already contained within the condition itself. Escape would require change, and change does not exist here. The living often imagine punishment as a path toward understanding, that through suffering something is learned, that through endurance something is gained. But the underworld does not teach, it reveals, and once revealed, there is no further need for learning. The truth of what has been lived is already complete. It does not require interpretation. It does not evolve. It remains. This is not mercy. But it is not cruelty either. It is something outside both. A condition that does not respond to moral language. It does not reward. It does not punish in the sense the living understand. It preserves. And in preserving, it allows each existence to continue as it has been formed, without alteration, without relief, without end. There is a quiet stillness in this understanding, not comfort, not despair, but clarity. Punishment is not something that happens, it is something that remains. A state that does not pass, a condition that does not move forward, a presence that does not dissolve. The figures bound within their endless acts do not move toward conclusion. They do not approach release. They do not change through repetition. They exist within a form that is already complete. This is why their punishments are not interrupted, why they do not shift, why they do not end. They have no direction beyond themselves, and so they remain within what they are, perfectly contained, perfectly aligned, perfectly unchanging. The underworld does not ask whether this is just. It does not ask whether it is deserved. It does not consider alternatives. Such questions belong to life. Here, there is only what is, and what is continues. Punishment in this realm is not a response. It is a reflection, not of a single act, but of a life fully seen and once seen. It does not disappear. It does not transform. It remains, as everything does here, held within a stillness that does not break, a condition that does not release, a truth that does not change. And within that truth, the meaning of punishment is not found in what is done, but in what continues, endlessly, exactly, as it has become. There are those who enter the underworld because they must, and there are those who enter because they refuse to accept what has already been decided. Orpheus does not descend as the dead do. He does not arrive through the quiet surrender that carries every soul downward. He comes with breath still within him, with movement still his own, with something that does not belong in this place. Music. It is not sound as the living hear it, not melody meant for delight or rhythm meant for motion. It is something deeper, a shaping of silence itself, a presence that moves where movement does not exist. As he crosses the threshold, the underworld does not resist him. It does not open for him either. It remains as it is. And yet, something begins to shift, not in structure, not in form, but in response. The first to hear him are not the gods, not the rulers, but the ones who remain in between, the souls who drift, who do not seek, who no longer remember enough to turn toward anything new. They do not move as he passes. But something within them does, a faint recognition, not of him, but of what once was. The music does not command, it does not compel, it reveals, and in that revelation, the underworld listens. Cerberus does not rise, he does not challenge. The watcher at the boundary, who allows nothing to pass back into life, becomes still in a different way. Not alert, not resisting, but listening. The three heads lower, not in submission, but in alignment with something that does not oppose the structure, yet moves within it. Orpheus does not pause, he continues, through the rivers that do not change their course, through the regions that do not alter their nature, and yet, wherever he moves, the stillness is touched, not broken, but acknowledged. The judges do not interrupt him, they do not question his presence, for what he carries is not argument, it is not defiance in the way the living understand it, it is something quieter. A request that does not speak itself, but is understood. He stands before Hades, before Persephone, and the music continues. It does not plead, it does not demand, it does not attempt to change what is already fixed, it reveals something that exists alongside it. Loss, not as sorrow alone, but as absence that cannot be undone. Eurydice, she is not present as she once was. She does not stand as the living stand. She exists within the condition she has entered, and yet through the music she is known again, not returned, but recognized. This is what reaches the rulers of the underworld, not emotion, not persuasion, but clarity. A moment where what is fixed is seen alongside what was, and in that moment something rare occurs. The structure does not break, but it bends, slightly, carefully, without losing itself. A condition is given, not as exception, but as possibility contained within strict form. Eurydice may follow, she may return to the world above, but not as she was, not freely, not without condition. Orpheus must lead, he must not turn, he must not look back, not until both have crossed beyond the boundary. This is not a test, it is alignment. The living must move forward, without certainty, without proof, without seeing what follows behind. Orpheus accepts, not because he understands, but because he cannot do otherwise. He begins the ascent, the path does not change, the underworld does not resist his leaving, but the condition remains. He walks, step by step, the music has ended, only silence remains, and behind him something follows, not heard, not seen, only known. The distance shortens, the boundary approaches, the moment nears. And within that moment, something shifts, not in the world, but within him. Uncertainty, a question that cannot be answered. Is she there? Does she follow? Has the condition been fulfilled? The underworld does not answer, it does not reassure, it does not reveal what cannot yet be seen, and so he turns. Not fully, not with intention to break what was given, but with the smallest movement towards certainty. And in that movement, the condition ends. Eurydice fades, not taken, not pulled away. She returns to what she already was. The underworld closes, not as a gate shutting, but as a state restoring itself. Orpheus remains, at the threshold, alive, alone. The descent did not fail, the music did not fail, the condition did not fail. What occurred exactly as it must. The underworld does not allow what it holds to be undone. Not fully, not without remainder. And so, Orpheus returns, not with what he sought, but with something else. The knowledge that even what can be reached cannot always be brought back, and within that knowledge the silence remains, unchanged, as the underworld always is. There are losses that happen in a moment, and there are those that continue long after the moment has passed. Eurydice exists within both. Her death is not marked by descent alone, nor by the quiet crossing that carries all souls into the underworld. It is marked by interruption. A life that did not unfold to its fullness. A presence that was taken not at the end, but in the midst of becoming. And yet, once she crosses, the underworld does not distinguish her from the others. It does not preserve the moment of her loss. It does not hold the memory of what might have been. It receives her, as it receives all. Within the realm below, Eurydice does not remain as she was above. She does not carry the same immediacy, the same form of presence that once defined her. The underworld does not erase, but it changes the weight of what remains. Memory softens, identity settles, the movement that once shaped her existence comes to stillness. She does not seek, she does not wait, for waiting belongs to time, and time, as it was known, no longer moves here. She exists within the condition she has entered, complete in its stillness, and yet something of her remains distinct, not because the underworld preserves her as she was, but because she was once called, once named, once held within the memory of another. This is what sets her apart, not within the underworld itself, but within the story that continues above it. Orpheus does not forget. And because he does not forget, she is not entirely lost. This creates a quiet division. Below, she remains as all souls remain, within the stillness, within the gradual softening of what once defined her. Above, she persists, not as presence, but as absence that is felt, as something that continues to shape the one who remembers. This is the nature of her existence, not divided between worlds, but reflected across them. When Orpheus descends, it is not to retrieve what is unchanged. It is to reach something that has already become part of another condition. Eurydice does not move toward him as the living would, she follows. Because the structure allows it, because the condition has been set, not because she seeks to return, for seeking no longer defines her. The path upward is not one of reunion, it is one of alignment, a movement between states that does not fully belong to either. She walks behind him, not seen, not heard, present, and yet not fully restored. This is what makes the moment fragile, not because it is weak, but because it exists within a condition that does not permit certainty. Orpheus must trust what he cannot perceive. He must move forward without turning, without confirming, without knowing. Eurydice follows without question, not because she believes, but because belief is no longer required. She exists within the condition given. And the condition holds until it does not. The turning is not dramatic. It is not marked by sudden realization or overwhelming doubt. It is small, almost imperceptible, a shift toward certainty, a movement toward what the living require, to see. And in that moment, she is lost again, not taken, not pulled away. She does not fall. She returns to what she had already become. The underworld does not reclaim her. It does not reach outward. It simply remains, and she remains within it, as she did before, as she will continue to do. The loss is not hers. It does not exist for her in the way it exists for Orpheus, for she does not carry the same sense of absence. She is not aware of what has been taken from her. She exists within what is, complete, still, unchanging. The loss belongs to the living, to the one who remembers, to the one who reached and could not hold. Eurydice becomes something else entirely, not a figure of longing, not a presence that waits, but a reflection of what cannot be restored once it has crossed beyond a certain boundary. She is not tragic in the way the living understand tragedy, for tragedy requires awareness of what has been lost. She does not hold this awareness. She remains within the underworld, as all things remain. What gives her story its weight is not her condition, but the distance between her condition and the world above. A distance that cannot be closed, even when it seems, for a moment, that it might. This is the quiet truth of her existence. She is not waiting to be found. She is not lost in the way the living imagine loss. She has become part of a realm that does not return what it holds. And in that realm, she remains, not reaching, not remembering, not longing, only existing as she has become. While above, her absence continues, unresolved, enduring, a presence defined not by what is there, but by what can no longer be brought back. There are descents that are driven by longing, and there are those that are driven by necessity. Heracles does not enter the underworld in search of what was lost. He enters because he must. His path is not shaped by grief, nor by defiance against what has already been decided. It is shaped by obligation, a task set before him that does not allow refusal. To descend while living is already an act that stands outside the natural order. To descend with purpose is something more. He does not carry music, he does not carry persuasion, he carries strength. Not only of body, but of presence, a force that does not bend easily, that does not hesitate in the face of what cannot be changed. And yet, the underworld does not respond to strength in the way the living world does. It does not resist him, it does not yield to him, it remains, as it always remains. Heracles passes the thresholds not by breaking them, but by enduring them. The descent does not alter for him. The rivers remain as they are. The silence does not lift. And yet, he continues. There is no challenge in the way he expects challenge, no opponent that rises, no force that meets him directly, only structure, only presence, only the quiet certainty that what exists here cannot be undone. When he stands before Hades, he does not demand, he does not threaten, for even he whose strength has altered the world above does not stand above this realm, he asks, not with weakness, but with recognition. The request is simple, to take Cerberus, to bring him upward, not as conquest, but as completion of what has been set before him. Hades does not refuse, nor does he grant without condition. The structure must remain, the boundary must hold. If Cerberus is to be taken, it must be done without weapon, without force that breaks what has been established, only through strength that aligns with the condition itself. Heracles accepts, not because the task is easy, but because there is no other way. He approaches the Watcher. Cerberus does not retreat, he does not lunge, he becomes aware, three heads turning toward a presence that does not belong, a living force within a realm that does not allow such presence to remain unchanged. There is no roar that breaks the silence, no sudden violence that fractures the stillness, there is only encounter. Heracles does not strike, he does not draw a weapon, he moves forward. And he takes hold. The struggle is not chaotic, it is contained. Cerberus resists not with rage, but with certainty. He does not fight to destroy, he holds the boundary. And Heracles, in that moment, does not attempt to break it. He meets it. Strength against structure, will against inevitability. The contest does not stretch into time, it does not escalate, it resolves, not in victory, but in alignment. Cerberus yields, not defeated, not diminished, but allowed, for the condition has been met. The strength required has not broken the boundary, it has moved within it. Heracles leads him upward, through the same paths, through the same silence, through the same unchanging structure. The underworld does not follow, it does not react, it remains as it is. For what is taken is not removed from its nature, it is only carried beyond it. For a time, when Cerberus reaches the world above, the difference is immediate, not in form, but in condition. The living world does not hold him as the underworld does, it does not contain him within stillness. He is present, but not at rest. This is not his place. and so he does not remain. Heracles returns him, not as failure, not as retreat, but as completion. The task is fulfilled, the boundary is restored. Cerberus resumes his place, unchanged, unmoved, as though nothing has occurred, for in truth, nothing has altered the structure. The underworld remains, the boundary holds. And Heracles returns to the world above, carrying not the creature he faced, but the knowledge that even strength must align with what cannot be broken. And in that knowledge, the descent becomes something more than a task completed. It becomes a recognition that some realms are not conquered, only entered, and left exactly as they were. There are journeys that descend, and there are those that do not descend at all, but reach across. Odysseus does not walk fully into the underworld. He stands at its edge, at a place where the boundary thins just enough for voices to pass through, for presence to gather without crossing entirely. The land is quiet, not empty, but held. A shore that does not belong to the living world in the way other shores do. The air feels unchanged by wind. The ground does not echo beneath his steps. Even the horizon seems less like distance and more like a veil. He has come not to remain, but to ask, to listen, to learn what cannot be known among the living. The ritual is simple and precise. A trench cut into the earth, offerings poured into darkness, blood that touches the boundary and calls forth what lingers beyond it. It is not the living who cross, it is the dead who approach. At first there is nothing, only stillness. Then presence gathers, not seen clearly, not formed as the living are formed, but felt. Shadows that move without motion, shapes that do not fully emerge yet, cannot be mistaken for absence. They come, not with urgency, not with hunger, but with recognition of what has been offered. The blood holds something they no longer carry, a trace of life, and through it they draw closer. Odysseus stands at the edge of this gathering, not afraid, but aware, for this is not a place meant for him, and yet he remains. The first voices are not loud, they do not rise above the others, they reach in quietly, like echoes that have learnt how to speak again. Each shade carries something incomplete, a memory without movement, a voice without breath. When they drink, when the offering touches them, something changes. Not fully, but enough. They remember, not as the living remember, but with clarity that returns for a moment. Names come back, faces take shape, stories gather into something that can be spoken. And then they speak. Odysseus listens, not interrupting, not guiding, only receiving what is given. Each voice brings something different. A warning, a fragment of the past, a truth that cannot be softened. The dead do not lie, not because they choose not to, but because what they are does not allow for distortion. What remains of them is exact, and what they speak reflects this exactness. Among them there are those he once knew, figures from a world that continues without them. They do not reach toward him, they do not attempt to return. They stand within their condition, speaking only when the moment allows. There is no embrace, no reunion as the living would imagine it, only recognition. And even that is brief, for the boundary does not hold open indefinitely. The presence of the dead is not sustained, it gathers, it speaks, and then it begins to recede. Odysseus seeks one voice above all, the one who can guide him forward, who can speak of what lies ahead, not in certainty, but in direction. And when that voice comes, it does not come as comfort, it comes as clarity. A path that must be followed, difficult, uncertain, but necessary. There is no attempt to soften what is said, no effort to shield him from what he must face. The underworld does not offer reassurance, it offers truth without adjustment. As the voices fade, the stillness returns, not abruptly, not with finality, but gradually, as though the moment itself closes. The shades withdraw. The boundary restores itself. What was near becomes distant again. What was heard becomes memory. And even that begins to shift, as the world of the living reasserts itself. Odysseus does not linger. He cannot. This place is not meant to be held. It is meant to be touched. And left. He steps away from the edge. The ground beneath him feels different. Not changed, but returned. The air moves again. Sound carries once more. The horizon becomes distance. And yet something remains. Not the voices themselves, not the forms that gathered, but the knowledge that the boundary is not absolute, that it can be approached, that it can be heard, for a moment, and that what lies beyond it does not vanish. It remains, waiting not to be called, but to continue as it always has. Odysseus carries this with him, not as burden, but as awareness, a quiet understanding that the world of the living is not the only world that endures, and that beyond its movement there is something still, something that does not change, something that speaks only when the boundary allows it, and then returns to silence, as it always does. There are paths that lead downward with purpose, and there are those that descend with a certainty that does not yet understand itself. Theseus does not enter the underworld alone. He comes with another, not guided by ritual, not softened by music, not tempered by request. Their descent is shaped by intent that belongs to the living world, the belief that what lies below can be taken, that what is held there can be brought back by will. This belief does not echo in the underworld. It fades, quietly, as they pass beyond the thresholds where intention still carries weight. The air does not resist them, the ground does not shift beneath their steps, and yet something changes, not around them, within them. The sense of direction loosens. The certainty that once guided their movement begins to thin, like a voice heard from too great a distance. Still, they continue, for turning back has not yet entered their thought. The realm receives them without acknowledgement. No figure rises to meet them, no boundary closes. The underworld does not challenge their presence, it allows it, and in allowing, it reveals something more difficult than resistance. Indifference. They move deeper. Through spaces that do not change, through stillness that does not react, the purpose that brought them begins to lose its shape. Not forgotten, but no longer held as firmly. This is the first sign that what they carry does not belong here. They reach a place that does not mark itself with grandeur or warning, a clearing within the quiet expanse. Stone, unmoving, a seat that appears as though it has always been there, not placed, not constructed, but part of the realm itself. They sit, not as a decision fully formed, but as a pause. A moment taken without understanding that it is more than a moment. The stone does not shift, it does not bind, it simply holds. At first, nothing changes, their bodies remain as they were. Their thoughts still move, their purpose still lingers, though less clearly than before. Time, if it can be called time, begins to pass, or rather to settle, and with that settling, something begins to take shape. The will to rise weakens, not abruptly, not as a force that presses them down, but as an absence, a quiet removal of the impulse to act. The stone does not trap them, it becomes part of them, or they become part of it. The distinction fades, their forms remain visible, yet no longer separate from the place they occupy. Movement becomes distant, then unfamiliar, then unnecessary. The underworld does not declare this. It does not mark the moment where stillness replaces motion. It simply allows it to occur. Gradually, completely, their purpose dissolves, not erased, but without direction. The idea of escape, does not vanish. It loses its weight. It no longer calls them forward. It remains as something that once mattered, but does not move them now. This is how the underworld holds what does not belong, not through force, but through absorption. Theseus remains, seated, not waiting, not resisting, not even fully aware in the way he once was. He has not become like the dead entirely. But he is no longer fully among the living. He exists between conditions, and in that space he does not move. There is no sense of duration, no measure of how long he remains, for duration requires change, and here change has withdrawn. The underworld continues around him, unaltered, unconcerned. He is not singled out, not marked as different. He is simply part of what is held. This is the nature of his descent, not a failure in the way the living would define failure, but a resolution, a movement that has reached a point where it cannot continue, and so it stops, without resistance, without return. There are stories that speak of release, of a later moment when another descends and breaks what has held him in place. But even this does not undo what has occurred. It does not restore what was before. For once the underworld has taken hold, even briefly, something remains altered. The boundary, once crossed, does not leave the one who crossed it unchanged. Theseus does not leave as he entered. He carries with him the stillness that once held him. A quiet absence of certainty. A knowledge that does not speak, but remains. The underworld does not punish him with pain. It does not confront him with force. It reveals something else, that not all paths can be reversed, that not all intentions survive the crossing, and that sometimes to enter is to lose the ability to move as one once did. Even if one returns, the stone remains. The place does not change, others do not gather there. It does not become marked by what occurred, it simply continues, as everything does below. And somewhere within that stillness, the trace of a presence remains, not as memory, but as condition. A quiet reminder that the underworld does not always need to hold forever, to leave something within what it has touched. There is no season in the underworld, no turning of light into shadow, no measure by which change can be felt. And yet, something moves, not within the land, but within the balance that holds it. Hades does not change. He does not rise or fall with time, does not shift with memory, does not carry within him the trace of what was before. His presence is constant, not rigid, but complete. He governs without motion. He holds without effort. And because of this, the underworld remains as it must. Unbroken. Certain. Persephone is not the same. She carries within her a rhythm that does not belong entirely to this realm, a movement that cannot be seen here, but is felt. There are moments, though they cannot be measured, when her presence deepens, not in strength, but in distance, as though part of her has turned elsewhere, and in those moments the underworld becomes more still, not because it changes, but because something within it has withdrawn. Then, without warning, that distance lessens, her presence settles again, and something subtle returns. Not life, not movement, but the memory of both. This is the balance, not between two rulers in opposition, but between two conditions that do not fully merge. Hades does not follow Persephone, he does not ascend, he does not reach beyond the boundary that defines him, and Persephone does not remain entirely below. She does not dissolve into stillness. She does not become indistinguishable from the realm she inhabits. Between them, something is maintained, a connection between what ends and what returns. The living feel this, though they do not see it. They experience it as seasons, as growth that arrives and departs, as warmth that fades and comes again. But beneath these changes lies something deeper, a movement that does not belong to the surface of the world, but to what connects it to what lies beneath. When Persephone is distant, the world above reflects it, not in sorrow, but in quiet withdrawal. The ground hardens, the air cools, what once rose begins to settle, and when she returns, the change follows, not sudden, not forced, but inevitable. Life resumes, movement returns, the cycle continues. But this is not a cycle of the underworld, it is a cycle that touches it. A reflection of the balance that exists between two states. Hades does not govern this movement. He does not cause the change. He remains. And in remaining, he provides what the movement depends on. A place where everything that departs arrives. Persephone does not control it either. She does not command the return. She carries it, as part of what she is. This is why the balance holds, not because it is enforced, but because it is inherent. Each remains within their nature, and in doing so, they create something that extends beyond them. The underworld does not open when Persephone turns toward the world above. It does not close when she returns. It remains constant. And yet, the connection is never broken. This is what makes the balance complete. It does not require change within the realm itself. It allows change to exist beyond it, while remaining untouched. Hades and Persephone do not speak of this. They do not mark its passing. They do not acknowledge its repetition. For it is not something that happens. It is something that is. A condition that does not begin and does not end. The underworld holds what has already become still. The world above holds what continues to move, and between them she remains, not divided, but extended, a presence that belongs to both, and fully to neither. This is the balance, not fragile, not shifting, but exact. As long as one remains still, and the other carries the memory of movement, the connection endures, quietly, unseen, holding the world above and the world below in a relationship that does not need to be understood. To remain, and within that relationship, nothing is lost, nothing is returned unchanged, everything continues as it must. There is a tendency among the living to shape what they do not understand into something that can be feared, to give darkness intention, to give endings a will, and so the ruler of the underworld is often imagined as something severe, something cruel, but the deeper one looks, the quieter that image becomes. Hades does not hunt. He does not reach upward to claim the living. He does not decide when a life ends, nor does he take pleasure in its ending. He waits, not with patience, not with anticipation, but with certainty, for everything that lives arrives, not because he calls it, but because it must. This is the first truth that reshapes him. He is not the cause of death, he is its keeper. There is no malice in this role, no desire to increase what comes to him. The underworld does not expand through his will, it receives through necessity, and he remains within that necessity. Unmoving, unchanged, the living often divide the world into what is good and what is evil. But the underworld does not follow this division. It does not reward goodness. It does not punish evil in the way these terms are understood above. It holds. And in holding, it reveals what already is. Hades exists within this structure. He does not stand above it. He is part of it, as constant as the rivers, as certain as the descent. To imagine him as cruel is to misunderstand the nature of what he governs. Cruelty requires intention, it requires choice, it requires a desire to inflict. Hades does not choose in this way. He does not act beyond what is required. He maintains. This is a different kind of power. Not the power to change the world, but the power to ensure that what cannot change remains. There is distance in him, not as coldness, but as alignment. He does not step into the lives of mortals. He does not alter their paths. He does not interfere in what unfolds above. And so he is rarely seen, rarely named with reverence, rarely invoked with hope. For the living do not seek what he represents. They avoid it. They speak around it. They imagine it as something that might be delayed. But Hades does not delay. He does not hasten. He remains. And in remaining, he becomes inevitable. This inevitability is what gives him his presence. Not force. Not fear. But certainty. There is no life that escapes him, no exception that alters the structure. And yet, this does not make him an enemy. For he does not oppose life. He completes it. Without the underworld, life would not end. And without an end, life would not hold its shape. It would extend without boundary, without meaning, without distinction. Hades ensures that this does not occur, not by action, but by presence. He is the point toward which all things move, even as they continue to live. This is why he does not need to assert himself. He does not need to remind the world that he exists. The world already moves toward him, quietly, unavoidably. There is something almost stiller in this understanding, that what is feared is not something that seeks to harm, but something that cannot be escaped. Hades does not bring suffering. He does not create loss. These belong to life. He receives what follows them, and in receiving he holds them exactly as they are. Without distortion, without alteration, this is his role, and it does not change. He does not grow. He does not diminish. He does not seek to become something else. For there is nothing beyond what he is. The underworld does not evolve. And neither does he. Together, they remain. A constant beneath everything that moves. A stillness beneath every action. A certainty beneath every beginning. The living may fear this. They may give it names that carry weight and shadow. They may imagine it as something dark and distant. But in truth, it is closer than that, not in space, but in nature. For every moment that passes moves toward it, and every life that unfolds finds its place within it. Hades does not stand against this movement. He is its end, not as destruction, but as completion. And in that completion, there is no evil, no judgment, no will to harm, only the quiet certainty that what begins will, in time, arrive. And when it does, he will be there, not waiting, not watching, simply remaining, as he always has, as he always will. War begins above as a gathering. Voices draw close, intentions harden, and the open field narrows into a single direction. Movement accelerates. Breath shortens. The world seems to lean forward, as if drawn toward a point it cannot avoid. Below, nothing leans, nothing gathers. The underworld does not feel the approach of conflict. It does not hear the rising noise or the sudden quiet that follows. It does not mark the instant when motion ends, and yet it receives what comes after, not as event, but as arrival. They come without formation. No lines, no banners, no sides that remain intact. Each arrives alone, separated from the field that once defined them. The nearness of allies, the distance of enemies, these do not cross the boundary. What remains is singular, a presence that no longer stands against another. The underworld does not distinguish victory from defeat. It does not hold the meanings the living place upon these outcomes. Such meanings require a future in which they can be remembered, retold, reshaped. Here there is no reshaping, only settling. The warrior does not continue the stance of battle. The posture loosens, not through choice, but through absence of purpose. The readiness that once held the body in tension no longer has anything to meet. For conflict depends on uncertainty, on the possibility that something may change, and in this realm, nothing remains uncertain. What persists is not the clash, but the imprint it leaves. A density that does not disperse, a clarity that does not shift. Some arrive with a weight that seems to linger, as though what they carried has not yet found its place. Others arrive with a quiet that does not resemble peace, but completion, a sense that nothing further can be added. The underworld does not interpret these differences. It does not name them. It holds them exactly as they are. Fate in the world above is often imagined as a thread, something drawn through life, unseen yet guiding, pulling toward an end that cannot be fully known. It suggests direction, movement, unfolding. Below, there is no unfolding. Fate does not lead, it rests. What was once extended through time is now gathered into form, not explained, not narrated, simply present. The path that was walked no longer stretches forward. It exists as the shape of what has already been completed. The underworld does not create this shape, it reveals it. This is why war does not continue here. Not because it is forbidden, but because it has no ground. Without uncertainty, there is no opposition. Without opposition, there is no conflict. What remains is aftermath without motion. The names that carried weight above do not carry it here in the same way. Those remembered as leaders, as conquerors, as the turning points of battle, they do not stand apart, not diminished, but no longer set against others. Distinction requires relation. It requires comparison, recognition, response. Here relation loosens. Each present stands within itself, not isolated, but complete. The field dissolves, not erased, but no longer active. What remains is singular, each soul within its own condition, not reaching, not resisting, simply present. The underworld does not preserve the moment of impact. It does not hold the cry, the decision, the final turn that defined an ending. These belong to time, and time does not move here as it once did. What it holds is what followed. The settled form, the condition that does not lead to another beginning. War moves, the underworld remains, and between movement and stillness, everything that unfolds above finds its place below. The living search for meaning within conflict. They ask what it changes, what it proves, what it leads toward. Below these questions fall away. Nothing is being led, nothing is being proven, nothing remains to change. Only what has already become remains. Fate is no longer a path, it is a presence, not guiding, not pulling, but existing as the form of what has been lived. And in that presence, the noise of war cannot continue. It has no place to echo, no surface upon which to repeat itself. It resolves into stillness, not forgotten, not undone, but complete. The underworld does not silence war. It outlasts it. It receives every ending without altering its own condition, and in doing so, it reveals something the living rarely see. That beneath every movement, there is a stillness that does not change, a place where all outcomes arrive equally, where every division settles, where each path, no matter how sharply it once turned, finds itself without direction, and within that stillness, war becomes what it always was beneath its motion, not a force that endures, but a moment that has already passed, held now in a realm where nothing continues to move, and nothing needs to, for everything that once advanced has already arrived. There is a place that does not begin, and because it does not begin, it does not end. Beneath the shifting ground of the living world, beneath the rise and fall of cities, beneath the memory of those who once walked and spoke and were known, the underworld remains. Not hidden, not distant, but constant. It does not wait to be discovered. It does not reveal itself to those who seek it. It exists, whether it is thought of or not. This is what makes it eternal. Not duration, but absence of change. The world above moves in cycles. It turns, it grows, it declines, it begins again. Time marks everything, from the smallest motion to the largest unfolding. Nothing holds its form indefinitely. But below, form does not dissolve. What has become remains. The rivers do not alter their course, the gates do not shift their place, the judges do not forget what they see, and the souls do not move beyond what they have already become. Everything is held within a structure that does not respond to time. This is not stillness as the living understand stillness. It is not rest between movements. It is not pause before change. It is something else. A state in which change has no function. Where continuation does not require progression, the underworld does not expand. It does not diminish. It does not evolve. For there is nothing beyond what it already is. It holds all endings, and endings do not lead elsewhere. This is why it remains untouched by what happens above. Empires rise, empires fall. Languages are spoken, forgotten, reshaped. Beliefs form, dissolve and return in different forms. But none of this reaches beneath. None of it alters what is already complete. The underworld does not remember these changes, not because it has forgotten, but because it was never changed by them. It receives what follows, and in receiving, it preserves. This preservation is not active, it does not require effort, it does not require attention, it is inherent, as constant as the descent itself. The souls who enter do not build, they do not create new forms within the realm, they do not alter its structure, they become part of what already exists, each one settling into a condition that does not move beyond itself. This is the nature of eternity here, not an endless future, but a present that does not pass. The idea of time loses its meaning. There is no waiting, no anticipation, no sense of something yet to come. Everything that will be already is. The underworld does not require acknowledgement to endure. It does not depend on memory, on belief, on the continuation of the stories that once described it. Even when the living turn away from it, even when they shape new understandings of what lies beyond life, the structure beneath remains unchanged. Silent, unseen, complete. This is what gives it its depth. Not distance, but permanence. A kingdom that does not govern through command, but through condition. Where nothing is imposed, yet everything is held. Where nothing moves forward, yet nothing is lost. The rulers do not shift their place. The boundaries do not weaken. The rivers do not run dry. Each element remains within its role, not by force, but by nature. And because each part remains, the whole does not fracture. It endures, without effort, without change, without end. The living may imagine eternity as something distant, something that stretches beyond comprehension. But here, eternity is not distance, it is presence, a state that does not move away from itself, that does not require extension to continue, it simply remains. And in that remaining, everything that has entered it becomes part of that same condition, not lost, not undone, but held, exactly as it has become. The underworld does not speak this, it does not declare its nature, it does not reveal itself as something to be understood. It exists, and in existing, it defines what follows life without needing to explain it. There is no final moment here, no conclusion that closes what has begun, for what begins above does not continue in the same way below. It transforms into something that no longer moves toward an end, it arrives, and remains. This is the eternal kingdom beneath the earth. Not a place of endings alone, but a place where endings no longer lead elsewhere. Where everything that has been carried downward settles into what cannot change. And in that unchanging presence, the world above continues to move. Unaware, uninterrupted, while below, nothing needs to move at all. For everything has already arrived, and everything remains. What remains when the stories grow quiet? When the names are no longer spoken with certainty? When the shapes of gods and realms soften into memory, and the world above continues its endless turning without looking beneath itself. The underworld does not answer. It does not rise to remind. It does not reach into the thoughts of the living to reclaim what has faded. It remains, as it always has. There is a tendency among those who look back to see these ancient visions as reflections of fear, as attempts to give form to what cannot be known, and perhaps they are, but within them something else endures. Not the certainty of structure, not the exactness of rivers, gates, or judges, but the recognition of something unchanging beneath all change. A quiet understanding that life does not move without boundary, that every beginning carries within it an ending, and that what follows that ending is not chaos, but stillness. The Greeks gave that stillness a form. They shaped it into a place, into figures who did not waver, into conditions that did not resolve. They did not imagine a realm of reward alone, nor one of punishment alone. They imagined something more balanced, more distant, more exact. A place where what is remains. And perhaps this is what continues to echo, not the belief itself, but the shape of the thought. That existence does not end in disappearance. It settles. It becomes something that does not need to move forward to continue. In the modern world, the language has changed, the forms have shifted. New understandings rise where old ones once stood. But beneath these changes, the question remains untouched. What becomes of what has been lived? The underworld does not answer this in words. It answers it in condition. By holding what has already been formed. By refusing to alter what has reached its end. By existing without the need to justify itself. This is what gives it its quiet power. Not fear, not mystery, but certainty. A certainty that does not demand belief to continue, that does not fade when it is no longer named, that does not change when the world above forgets how to imagine it. And so, the underworld remains not only as a place within myth, but as a reflection of something deeper, a way of seeing endings not as disappearance, but as arrival, a final movement into stillness, a state where nothing more is required, nothing more is added, nothing more is taken away. The stories fade, the names grow quiet, the images lose their sharpness, and yet the idea lingers, not as something to be proven, but as something felt. In the silence after motion, in the stillness that follows every ending, in the quiet awareness that beneath all things that change, there is something that does not. And it is there, not waiting, not watching, simply remaining. As it always has. As it always will. And in that remaining, the story does not conclude. It fades, gently, into the same stillness from which it was told.